Thursday afternoon, hello there and welcome to The Pulse. We're coming to you live from our studios here in Accra. We're on your digital terrestrial TV because we're free to air. You can catch us live on DSTV channel 421 and GoTV channel 144. We are JoyNews, independent, fearless and credible journalism. Coming up this afternoon on The Pulse, the National Democratic Congress is wading into the arrest of Chinese businesswoman Aisha Huang, who is facing charges of mining without license. We'll hear from the biggest opposition party, which claims she's a financier of the governing New Patriotic Party.
And if she's not a financier of the MPP, I wonder how somebody who is supposed to have been deported, and the president admitting that he has been deported, the senior minister, if you want, the prime minister, Osafo Maafo, saying that she has been deported. All of a sudden, the president is playing dumb and saying that he doesn't know that the woman has been deported.
Or from the opposition party shortly. Meanwhile, there are growing calls for President Akufo-Addo to crack the whip on foreign nationals engaged in the illicit act of illegal mining.
Touted as a rule of law country where the government respects the rule of law. And I must say that President Akufo-Addo has demonstrated that MPP is a law-abiding rule of law country.
We'll talk about the reorganization of the largest opposition political party, the NDC, as the party releases the roadmap for fortifying its base ahead of the 2024 general elections.
Of nominations for the national elections will happen on 20th and 21st October. 20th and 21st October.
What will be the chances of the party going forward, and what's the timeline now in terms of the reorganization of the National Democratic Congress? We'll talk about that here on The Pulse. The Pulse, as always, is brought to you by Global Communities Dignilu, affordable, safe sanitation. Remember that this afternoon we're streaming live on YouTube, and all of our social media handles is at JoyNews on TV. I'm blessed Sogah, and it's always a pleasure serving you here on The Pulse. Please stay. And this afternoon, the story of Chinese businesswoman Aisha Huang, who is currently facing charges of engaging in illegal mining, has reinforced calls for government to revisit the Inter-Ministerial Committee recommendations issued in 2018 to effectively tackle galamsey, the locally known terminology for illegal mining. For 27 months, government completely placed a ban on small-scale mining activities way back in 2018 to pave way for the formulation and implementation of a roadmap that will effectively tackle the menace. However, hopes of a new era of fighting galamsey was short-lived after it emerged that Chinese national Aisha Huang had returned to this country and was mining together with other accomplices without permits. A former Interior Minister, Nkrabia Efadate, who doubles as lawyer to the embattled Aisha Huang, indicated to us here exclusively on The Pulse that although he supports the president's fight against corruption, galamsey, law enforcement agencies must ensure that they have sufficient evidence in dealing with foreign nationals.
Myself and my lawyers, we are going to have a conference to decide the roadmap for Aisha Huang. The options are many. One of them is to try to get bail for her at the High Court. Another option is to wait and see what can be done on the 27th. Another option is to apply to have the case brought forward before the 27th. The options are many, and my colleagues and I will brainstorm, and then we'll move forward. But in all this, we will need the endorsement of our client, because as for us, at least at this law firm, we work strictly on instructions from our clients. No more, no less.
But
most likely, you will see us at the High Court. Support the president fully in his battle against galamseyers. I have seen with sorrow and a lot of misgivings about the way our rivers are being spoiled by galamsey. When you are going to Kumasi and you reach Anyinem, and you look at the river, the way it has turned yellow due to galamsey, is bad. But emphatically, but as a lawyer, I urge all security agencies to do their work as professionally as possible. Don't act on rumors. On rumors. If you don't have evidence, don't arrest anybody. When you arrest, you must have concrete, solid facts. Bring them to court. Boldly tell the court the basis of arresting the accused person. And then let's go forward. And then if you get conviction, the person pays the consequences. It's as simple as that. But if you act on rumors that, oh, she's a notorious galamsey, a kingpin, operating the left, right, center, will interfere with investigation, and so on and so on, and you come, it's not the best. It's not good. Yeah, and you know, Ghana, fortunately, we are touted as a rule of law country, where the government respects the rule of law. And I must say that President Akufo-Addo has demonstrated that MPP is a law-abiding rule of law country. And so we must not do anything to dent that image without, for a moment, suspending the battle against galamsey.
I'm grateful. Lawyer Nkrabea Ifadate is counsel for the embattled Aisha Huang. Well, so that was the conversation yesterday with the counsel for the embattled Aisha Huang. Let's bring in now Awula Sewa, coordinator of the Eco-Conscious Citizens and co-founder as well, joining us via Zoom. She's equally a lawyer who understands a lot of the matters being raised by Ifadate there. But Awula, it's such a great time to be talking to you. The issue about the fixation on Aisha Huang, is that of concern to you, particularly knowing that we may be losing sight of other illicit activities going on in the mining sector? And kindly unmute for me so I can get the point you're making, Awula.
Can you hear me now?
Loud and clear.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. Without any doubt, we should not fixate on any individual. We should be fixated on the war against illegal mining, and even the legal mining. We should be fixated on cleaning our environment, protecting our environment. So for me, the important thing is, what are we doing about the fight against galamsey? And let me say that galamsey, we don't need heavy equipment like excavators. So if this lady is before the court, let's see what the results will be, because it's the court which will come to the decision. The police have investigated. She has been charged. I accept that they are minor charges. And then the prosecution are prosecuting. Let's find out what decision the court comes to. So that is what is important. But we should not be fixated on her, because it could be like a red herring. If we're so fixated on her that we don't look at what is actually going on. Our rivers are still being poisoned. Our trees are still being felled willy-nilly. And we need to focus on it. Focus on how to stop the environmental vandalism that is currently taking place. So I don't think we should just fixate on one individual. We should look at the problem in its totality.
The belief is, once we're able to crack down on the likes of Aisha Huang, and this is without prejudice to the processes happening in the court, it will instill some level of fear, if I could use that word, in the system in terms of cracking down on illegal mining.
Well, we've made her into a kingpin. I don't know whether she is or she isn't. All I know is that she's somebody who was being prosecuted, and we were told wrongly that she had been deported. We don't know, but she had actually been repatriated. We don't know how she re-entered the country. Did she do so legally, illegally? It's for the immigration officers to tell us how she re-entered the country. Be that as it may, I don't know that she's a kingpin, but I do know as a fact that, or shall I say that it is alleged that highly placed individuals are engaging in the activities that are leading to degradation, and we need to get to the bottom of it. Not long ago, the president of the Small Scale Mining Association said that he saw vehicles with specific stickers on them in the forest reserve doing damage. He was arrested instead of asking him to produce further and better particulars. But he's been released. So the important thing is that let's get to the root of the matter. Excavators are not like needles. They can't just disappear and then appear in forest reserves when we have police checks and so on and so forth. So for me, it could be just focusing on one person who may or may not be seriously involved, but there are other people from Ghanaians and foreigners who are destroying our environment, and we need to deal with them. It doesn't matter how highly placed they are and which political party they belong to.
In fact, there are emerging concerns about the prosecution currently underway. The fact that the charge being leveled against Aisha Huang has got to do with mining without the requisite permit. And many lawyers are arguing that this is going to be a leeway for the defense counsel. Of course, you are a lawyer, so you understand all of these issues. How does it come to you in terms of your own assessment of the prosecution in this case?
Well, at the end of the day, she's been charged with certain offenses. I would have thought that one would look at the crimes that she's alleged to have committed and then find out what to charge her with. So a thorough investigation should have taken place and then charges leveled against her. Be that as it may, if these were the only charges that we could find, I'm not sure that they carry any serious prison term. They could be just fines. So if Ghanaians are expecting an example to be made out of her, not with the charges that have so far been leveled against her, then the court does not operate in a vacuum. The court has to go according to law because we are a law-abiding country. Therefore, if there are minor offenses, if she's found guilty, the most the court could do is to give her the maximum, but they cannot invent a sentence that is not applicable to that specific offense. So that's why I'm saying that Ghanaians should not have too many expectations. What Ghanaians' expectations should be that are we seriously interested in clamping down on illegal mining, whether it's by Aisha or any other person, and what steps are we taking? Because I've said that I'm not impressed with what is going on. Every day there are new images of forest reserves being destroyed, and we all appear to be just sitting idly by whilst it's happening. I'm sure that if we are seriously interested in getting rid of illegal mining, we can do so. We can do so. It's not just by focusing on one individual.
And in fact, I would like to get your thoughts on this new trend which is emerging, which has got to do with the whole politicization of the fight against illegal mining. In fact, we're beginning to hear from the largest opposition party, the NDC, on this matter. I will bring that shortly and then get your thoughts on it. But even before we get there, I want to have your take on how difficult or otherwise it has been or it will be trying to prosecute persons who are engaged in illegal mining. Do you really need to get them in the act? Is that how difficult this kind of prosecution is?
Well, it's a question of catching the people who are doing it, and then the police investigating, looking at the proper charges to level against them, and then to have a good prosecution. I mean, but at the end of the day, if there's no seriousness, then nothing is going to happen. I know Joy did an investigation a while back, if I'm correct. They went into a forest reserve and they came across some illegal miners and all sorts of things happened. But it seems to me that some of the illegal miners are those backing our main party. So I'm not quite sure that the political will is actually there. Yes, there was a lot of hullabaloo about burning excavators. They've been disappearing excavators. I think that if there's a little bit of seriousness, we will make some headway.
I want you to listen to this for me, because there's a new twist to the never-ending Galamsey campaign, Aisha Huang and her saga. Of course, the Deputy General Secretary of the Opposition National Democratic Congress has been commenting on the matter, indicating and now alleging that Aisha Huang appears to be a financier of the governing New Patriotic Party. According to this Deputy General Secretary, Dr. Peter Otukno, the inability of the New Patriotic Party government to take on Aisha Huang is simply because of how she supported the party over the years. Let's listen to the perspective of the NDC on this, and I'll take your thoughts shortly.
Indeed, look at the crisis we are going through. We are suffering one of the worst currency challenges in the history of this country. Gold has the solution to this problem. They are not paying taxes on the Galamsey. She's smuggling the gold. She's doing all manner of things against our law. And because MPP is in government and maybe they claim she's their financier, they are defending her. And they want all of us to follow suit. I mean, all of us cannot be fools in this country. If perhaps they have been deceived by Ashawan because she has given them some pittances, or because Bawumia went cap in hand begging them for money and she led them to go and raise funds for their campaign, that doesn't mean that we, the citizens of this country, must sit down and allow them to rip the nation off.
Mr. Tokuno, do you have any basis of this allegation that Aisha Wan is a financier of the NPP?
Oh, well, I mean, if she's not a financier of the NPP, I wonder how somebody who is supposed to have been deported, and the president admitting that he has been deported, the senior minister, if you want, the prime minister, Osafo Mafo, saying that she has been deported, all of a sudden, the president is playing dumb and saying that he doesn't know that the woman has been deported. And I think it's becoming one too many, and it is becoming a worrying trend. You have a certain president who always says that he's not aware of decisions that he himself has undertaken. The president has issued executive instrument and he says he is not aware. He has written letters of authority and he says he's not aware. Corruption appears under him, everybody is talking about it, he says he's not aware. Today, Aisha Wan, he's saying that he's not aware that Aisha Wan was deported. Very soon, he will say that he's not aware he's the president of this country. And I think that we should be worried, we should be concerned.
Meanwhile, the party says the government must ensure Aisha Wang is brought to book.
And it is most bizarre and most regrettable, particularly because if you consider the kind of economic circumstances that we are going through and the fact that the gold of this country, the God-given gold of this country could be saving the economy, and you have somebody who has ripped this nation so much and is still ripping this nation, who has committed crime against the nation, committed crime against our laws, and the MPP came to tell us that that person has been deported, even against the wishes of the people of this country. We said that the person has committed crime against our laws. Let's deal with that person. You don't deport the person because the person is not a diplomat. If any diplomat comes here and messed up, because the person is a diplomat, maybe there are some bilateral, arrangements that requires you to deport the person. But this is not a diplomat. This is a private Chinese citizen who has entered our country and has messed up, gone against the law, perpetrated crime, heinous crimes, stolen our gold. You understand? And so, for such instance, you shouldn't have even deported the person in the first place. But granted, be that as it may, you have deported the person. The person has resurfaced in the country. Now, it's two questions that must be answered. Aisha Wan, how did she enter the country? Did she go through immigration? Did she go through the borders? And if she didn't go through the borders, if she smuggled herself through maybe Togo or Ivory Coast, how come she was able to acquire a Ghana card? How come she was able to go through the NIA to get a Ghana card? That is another criminality on its own. But what we are demanding now, after finding out that Aisha Wan is still in the country, is the proper application of the laws of this country in dealing with her. She must be prosecuted and face the full rigors of the law. I have heard commentary from MPP operatives and the lawyers defending her that she has, this one is no matter and we are just blowing it out of proportion. Who is blowing what out of proportion?
In fact, there's more from Dr. Tokuno. I will take that shortly, but let me bring you in. Two critical issues. First of all, her citizenship has been called into question. In fact, up until yesterday, we never knew that she was married to a Ghanaian. So perhaps that would change her status, right?
Well, you see, so many allegations, so many things are being said. Who knows what is actually happening? So for me, the important thing to do is to properly investigate. I cannot speculate. I really do not know. So I can't speculate. But what I can say is that what is happening to our environment is too serious for us to be playing or to be politicizing it. If we are actually interested in protecting our environment, then we should have a national, not debate upon this debate, but we should have a national team made up of people from different parties to get to the heart of the matter to solve the problem. The two political parties politicizing the matter is completely unhelpful. Galamsey has been going on under both political parties. And there are rumors, and I should not be repeating rumors, but there are rumors that both are supported by some of the illegal miners. So let's actually find out what is going on and let's not speculate. It is a point, yes, we're told she was deported when in actual fact it seems she wasn't. How did she get back into the country? Did she commit any crime? Because let's face it, anybody is innocent until proven guilty. Until she has been proven guilty, the law demands that we take it that she's innocent. I'm not sure what she has done, what she hasn't done, but I'm very concerned about making her the, what shall I say, the be it and end all of galamsey or illegal mining in this country. Long before Aisha Wan came in, there was illegal mining going on. We should get to the heart of it. There are other big players. We all know there are other big players. Deal with everybody equally. So yes, deal with her, find out the offenses she has allegedly committed, which can only be found out by a thorough investigation, prosecute her, and let her face the full rigors of the law. But that doesn't mean that all our attention should be on her, and we forget that as I speak, as we are having this discussion, illegal mining is still going on, and environmental vandalism is taking place as we speak. Let's not be diverted. Let her not be a red herring.
In 2018, the Inter-Ministerial Committee was still effective. That goes to suggest that they put out a document, a set of recommendations that is still on the table of the president. A number of issues came up at the time. We do know that for 27 months, small-scale mining was banned in this country, and we're supposed to follow that roadmap before we go ahead to release the small-scale mining space. Having gone through that document, and of course what we've heard from officials at the time as to how this roadmap was going to be implemented, are you fully satisfied with what has happened over the years and as to whether or not we're going ahead as planned?
You see, the only satisfaction will be when we see our waters beginning to turn their correct color. Brown waters, muddy waters, being told that we may have to import water. Who can be satisfied with this? Small-scale mining is small-scale mining. You're not supposed to be using excavators for small-scale mining. This whole community mining, there are Ghanaians who had reservations about it and were not listened to. So what is going on right now? I think the facts speak for themselves. I mean, there is not much to be proud of because it's not a question of discussions upon discussions, about action being taken. And what action is being taken should be sustained. It shouldn't be one day we burn excavators and then the next day the illegal mining is still going on. So no, I'm not satisfied. And I do think that it's a matter of national emergency. So we should stop playing political whatever with it and actually come with solutions, whether the army is to be involved, whatever we can do to stop this havoc from going on.
And that's why I'm interested.
But I think it's totally...
Yeah, and that's why I'm interested in the way forward. What should we be considering at this point? A total moratorium on illegal mining, or I mean small-scale mining, if I should put it that way, or
I think small-scale mining,
should we deploy more troops? Right.
We can pause it for now. Right now, the focus should be on our waters turning to their original color. I mean, I'm not an expert, and I'm sure there are people better than me who can actually articulate what should be done. But yes, it might be a good idea to pause it. And then we should have a national meeting, a national discussion with a view to finding solutions so that the solutions will be the same whoever wins the elections. So that it won't be a point of when you are trying to run for elections, you tell the illegal miners that when you come, we are not going to pursue them, or I don't know what kind of statements were actually made. It should be something that we all put Ghana first. Because frankly, I don't think Ghana is being put first. My party is Ghana. I don't belong to any other political party but Ghana. And I would like to encourage the political parties to put Ghana first and to find the solutions. Yes, I think a way forward might be to have a pause for now. Find out, we know where our forest reserves are. We need to find out which excavators are there and why we should even contemplate allowing mining in forest reserve. And that's why I always say, leave Atiwa Forest alone. There is no point in going to mine bauxite there because we know we can't control anything. And we know that that Atiwa Forest is a globally significant forest reserve. Let's leave it as it is. And coming back to the subject we're discussing, the illegal mining, yes, we can have a pause on so-called community mining, which is not actually community mining.
In all of this, where do we place the economic importance of mining to our country?
Mining is important. We have our natural resources. But what we need to ask ourselves is that all the mining that has been going on in the country, who is actually benefiting? When we go to the mining areas, have we looked at the standard of living of the ordinary people there? Have they in any way benefited from it? So maybe we need to relook at what is going on. And again, I've said mining is important so long as it's done properly. Let me be absolutely clear. The fact that people have mining licenses doesn't necessarily mean that everything is going on as it should, and the environment is not being damaged. So let's take a pause and look at what is actually going on. And let's leave the minerals in the earth when we are not quite sure of the damage they will do. And coming back to Atiwa, when we have been told that it will pollute the source of water to 5 million Ghanaians, leave the bauxite where it is. Maybe some time will come when we'll find technology which will enable us to mine bauxite without destroying the environment. Until then, leave it there. There is the green economy. And I can assure you that a lot of money can be generated from the green economy. And that will not destroy the environment, and it will be more beneficial to everybody, not just to the few people who are benefiting from mining in this country at the expense of the nation.
Already, the Ghana Water Company is indicating to us that they may have to shut down some of their operating plants. So the effects are really telling on us.
It's a dire situation. And instead of playing politics and looking at whether NDC did better than MPP, we should look at the fact that, are we all right? Are we all right? We might soon not have drinking water. So let's pause with this mining since we are unable to ensure that there's responsible mining. And then when we have put our systems in place and we can properly monitor, the Environmental Protection Agency can actually be monitoring and telling us what is going on. Then maybe we can continue. In the meantime, what is going on? A lot of smuggling, destruction of our environment, and what is the benefit to Ghanaians?
Anyway, we'll still be watching this space, but if there's anything we're to expect from the sector ministry, what should that be in the coming days for you as we wrap up on this conversation?
Well, the only thing I'm expecting is something positive about which will be sustainable, about how we're going to deal with this situation, because we cannot go on as it is. It's an emergency. It's a clear and present danger, what is going on right now. And the relevant authorities who are there, they have a mandate to do the right thing, should do it. Enough talk, enough conversation. We don't want it to be a conversation just going round and round. We want proper action to be taken to put an end to the destruction of our environment.
I would have to leave it here. Thank you for your time here on The Pulse. In fact, well, since the re-emergence of Aisha Huang, there have been reports that she had allegedly engaged in the Galamsey menace, even under the previous National Democratic Congress government. But Dr. Otokono, who happens to be Deputy General Secretary of the NDC, describes this as shameful, an attempt to roping the NDC into all of these scandals.
Something must be done. Something must be said to this government. We cannot be taken for granted this anymore. We cannot. So Aisha Huang came to this country. We arrested Aisha Huang, deported her. Then she came back again. Then we said that we were not aware. I mean, this is ridiculous. Sometimes we shouldn't play this shameful act of equalization in such serious issues. This is a very serious matter, and it borders on our security. It borders on our border security. It borders on the performance of our economy, and we should be worried. And we should not, venture into this unholy realm of equalization in this matter.
And thanks for staying with us here on The Pulse. When we return, there's more on the issue of illegal mining. Please stay with us. And you're welcome back to The Pulse. Now, in 2021, we do know that President Akufo-Addo dissolved the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, which left on his desk a report containing recommendations on how to effectively tackle this menace. So let's bring you excerpts of some of the key recommendations and the roadmap that was issued. So what you have on your screen now was the pre to post ban activities which government actually laid out as part of the plan to, of course, move out phase by phase from the pre-era where there was a complete 27-month moratorium on small-scale mining at the time, back in 2018, which will move us into the phase in which we find ourselves. So in terms of the report and what the recommendations were, this was the plan as of 2018 in August. And parts of the report on monitoring, compliance, and then enforcement of artisanal and small-scale mining regulations. So following that report, a number of activities were supposed to be taking place prior to the lifting of the ban and beyond. So the first one has got to do with monitoring, compliance, enforcement of sanctions of illegal mining activities. And also there's a second leg to it, which has got to do with the reclamation of degraded lands. But then beyond that as well, government was supposed to, through that same inter-ministerial committee, which was dissolved some time ago, enforce a monitoring, compliance, and then enforcement of artisanal and small-scale mining regulations. Then there was the Galam stop, which involved a comprehensive, radical approach of, first of all, deploying drones, and then also getting through some tracking systems which were supposed to be used to monitor all illegal mining-related activities by the, first of all, the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, and then the DCIMS, which is the District Inter-Ministerial Committees. Now, beyond that as well, there was clearly a roadmap on the setup of some 15 satellite offices, which were supposed to have been established in almost all of the districts. So, first of all, we're supposed to have 15 satellite offices established within various Mineral Commission mining districts, and then 540 mining guards, which were supposed to be deployed to these satellite offices by the Minerals Commission. So the plan was to have the offices set up at the local communities, the local levels where, of course, issues of illegal mining were prevalent, and then we go ahead to have 540 mining guards to be deployed to the satellite offices by the Minerals Commission. Now, boats as well were supposed to have been manufactured, acquired for Operation Vanguard, and then would have some monitoring going on, especially on the water bodies which are bearing the brunt of these activities of illegal mining within the mining districts itself. Now, for the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, the Minerals Commission and then the EPA, they were supposed to work together to ensure that there is compliance to mining and environmental requirements and safety procedures and measures as well. So these were the 4 more additional areas. But beyond that, there's supposed to be the leg about stakeholder engagements and consultations. So for instance, we know that on the Inter-Ministerial Commission, the committee itself, the Mineral Commission and the EPA, they were supposed to push for reporting of requirements on production of statistics, labor issues, so that alternatives could be found for persons who are engaging in issues of illegal mining and related activities as well. Then there's the angle about the National Association for Small-Scale Miners, which are to be encouraged to do self-regulation to their activities using their own developed software, and then various sanctions which will be clearly spelled out for small-scale miners who actually fail to reclaim their mined out areas by the Inter-Ministerial Committee. Then you also have the district committees as well in charge of illegal mining, and then Minerals Commission. Then we have the EPA as well as the Forestry Commission and the National Association for Small-Scale Miners. That was the plan at the time, but it appears that all of these issues have not been dealt with. And there's more in the Ashanti region, where, of course, is one of the areas facing this issue of illegal mining. Our team in the Ashanti region has more on the Aisha Huang case and the concerns about illegal mining.
Ms. Aisha Wang was sent back to her country. She was mainly into mining around Amasia Central, specifically Bepo Tinting. That is where her mines were. And after she returned to the country, I'm told by my sources that she has invested a lot into gold buying activities. And so she's also sponsoring some Ghanaian young miners to go into mining. Now, her mining site at Bepotintin has been sold to a Ghanaian miner. She herself is into a number of businesses sponsoring young people to buy gold for her. And then she's also into a brothel business, I am told, which is situated around Adiabeba in Kumasi. And she also operates a massaging business around Ahojo as well. So there are a number of businesses that are allegedly linked to Miss Aisha Wang, all located around Ahojo and Adiabeba to be precise. But then we are running some checks. It will need the Registrar General's Department to be able to tell us or pinpoint whether these businesses that we know of that are linked to her are really registered in her name or registered in other people's names. But what we know specifically is that there are Chinese nationals who are currently collaborating with some Ghanaian nationals to mine in specific places like Kunso, close to Mankranso, for her. She's also into gold buying business, which is fronted by some Ghanaians as well in Kumasi, specifically Adiabeba and Ahojo. That is what we know for now.
Now, the Ghana Health Service has issued a health alert on increasing cases of rabies being recorded in the Ashanti region. A statement signed by the Ashanti Regional Health Director, Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran, indicates that the said deaths have been recorded from 4 cases detected in 3 different districts of the Ashanti region. They include the Asante Achim South, Bosumtwi, and also Kwabere East. We'll hear from an official with the Ghana Veterinary Services shortly. But first, here's the alert released by the Ashanti Regional Health Directorate. So you have excerpts, first of all, indicating that the Regional Health Directorate brings to the notice of all health facilities arising the confirmed outbreak of rabies cases and deaths in 3 districts in the Ashanti region. As of Monday, the 12th of September 2022, the region had recorded a total of 4 confirmed cases and, of course, 1 probable case. The cases were reported from the Asante Akim South and also Bosumtwi, as well as the Kwabere East areas. Now, the case fatality was 100%, as we're getting from the officials. Now, the public health actions to be undertaking are, first of all, enhanced community public sensitization on rabies. Then there's the issue of improved case search for rabies in the facilities, and also a follow-up and an issue of treating all cases of dog bites. There's the aspect of liaising with veterinary officers in the districts for dog vaccination activities. So that's the roadmap being rolled out by the authorities. Now, the case definition of human rabies, we do know, has got to do with suspected issues relating to 1 person or more, and there are some symptoms of headache, neck pain, nausea, fever, as well as some more issues. And of course, in terms of the confirmed case that we have, a suspected case, there are some checks going on in the labs to confirm that. So that's been signed by Dr. Emmanuel Tinkran, who's the Regional Director of Health Services in the Ashanti region. So joining me now is Benjamin Kisi Sasu, Risk Communications Officer at the Ghana Veterinary Services Directorate. We also have Dr. Lawrence Lati, of the who's the head of Port Health at the Ghana Health Service, and Dr. William Chiame, a Senior Lecturer, School of Veterinary Medicine at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. Thank you all for your time. Let me start off with the Veterinary Service. Obviously, the issue about how the public could protect themselves. Looking at the findings that you have, what's your view, first of all, in dealing with the matter when it comes to public safety? What do we need to know, Benjamin Kisi?
Okay, great. So first of all, I'd like to send my greetings to your viewers. Unfortunately for us, Ghana currently, September is our Rabies Awareness Month. This is due to the fact that all over the world on 28th September is the World Rabies Day. And we have some few days more to 28th, and to Ghana experience this sudden news. It's so sad that we are coming up to this. But this is also a call for action because countries all over the world, including Ghana, have signed to a charter that 2030 we should be able to eradicate rabies in Ghana. And we have about almost 8 years more than 2022, so we hope to have by 2032 right there. So getting this is so sad for the country, but we still need to get on and quickly work towards. We still have some few years more. And this is a call to our agencies and to government and relevant institutions to let us marshal the necessary efforts and resources so that we could be able to get back to the good path, so that by 2030 we're part of the countries that would have rabies eradicated in our country. It's so sad that we have come to this point, but lucky for us, we have the system in place. So quickly activated, and current investigation is ongoing to see where the source is, and also, as the letter read, to do a lot of awareness and sensitization so as to get everybody well informed of the issues. So far, this is the issue on ground. The only issue is that a lot of Ghanaians don't know much about rabies. A lot of work have been done, and I'm happy that our senior colleague is also here to show more light about it. It's a neglected disease in Ghana. When people hear about rabies, they feel it is not closer, they feel it's far away from us, and they feel it's just with only animals. But we all need to play an essential role. So as the matter has come, we ask the public not to fear. We don't need to panic. The system is at place. Rabies is 100% fatal, yes, but it's also 100% person preventable. When we say it's 100% fatal, it means once somebody contact a rabid animal, it starts to show signs and symptoms, nothing can be done about it unless there is a divine intervention. The person would, no matter what, would lose his or her life. And that's always happened all over the world. There's no any treatment. But the good news is that it's person preventable, that if we are vaccinating our pets, being a responsible owner, would have this problem not with the pets. Research shows that more of the cases we are getting, more than 70% are dog-mediated cases or mediated bites. We have dogs. That doesn't mean we are saying that people should hate animals, but we are humans who are born for them. We need to shelter and do the necessary vaccination protocol. In that, when we do so, we will not have the animals be affected, which will have consequences on human life, as we are seeing currently in Ghana and Ashanti region. We hope everything is maintained in such a way.
Dr. Lati, for the Ghana Health Service, what immediate steps are you taking to check this?
Please, can you repeat?
The question is to Dr. Lati. Yes, Dr. Lati, you'd have to unmute so I can get the point you're making. Dr. Lati, can you hear me? We can get the point you're making. So
okay, I can hear you.
Yes. I was just asking about.
I can hear you.
Yes, I was just asking about the measures.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. So, as a service, as a system of surveillance that was able to pick up these cases of rabies that has been reported in the Ashanti region. And as my colleague Benjamin rightly said, community sensitization is one of the key protocols that we follow, especially when cases are reported. And of course, record shows that 4 out of 10 deaths usually involves children. So during this period, when there are outbreaks, it presupposes that there are rabid dogs within the communities, especially stray dogs. And for that reason, owners of the dogs are being encouraged and advised to vaccinate their dogs and keep them in check. And of course, children, when they close from school, try to play with dogs, especially on their way back home. So there's a lot of sensitization going on in the schools, especially within the districts where these cases have been confirmed. And also clinical care is very important. And within the hospital settings, during this period, health facilities in these districts have heightened awareness to the extent that anyone that reports with scratches from dogs or any dog bite, a certain system is activated. Some preventive vaccines are provided to them. And then, of course, they are educated to ensure that they keep themselves safe. Also, persons who are working in peri-urban and farming areas are being encouraged to ensure that they protect themselves. They wear trousers and avoid, coming into contact with rabid dogs. But most importantly, we are encouraging the communities to report, the presence of stray dogs or dogs that have unusual behavior of agitation, unprovoked aggression, and agitation. So the service is approaching this using surveillance with our strengthened laboratory systems to diagnose in collaboration with the Veterinary Services Department, and then managing cases or suspected cases that visit the health facilities, and then finally strengthened risk communication and social mobilization.
I also want to hear from Dr. William Chame, who's a senior lecturer at the School of Veterinary Medicine. I mean, technically speaking, are you impressed about the measures being rolled out by the Ghana Health Service, and how do we bring down or possibly eliminate the infections?
Thank you for having me. I hope you can hear me well, because it's raining heavily over here in Marseille as I speak. Yes, I think my two colleagues have said almost all the things. But the theme for this year's World Rabies Day, which is One Health, Zero Deaths, is another clarion call on all sectors working to eliminate rabies to come together. Here we have someone from the veterinary sector, another person from the university, and we also have Dr. Latte from the health sector. So we need to go out to the communities together, to go and educate at marketplaces, schools, etc. The issue is when you have, let's say, the health sector trying to do one thing, then maybe at times you also have the veterinary sector also doing, it could be similar. The public doesn't see that importance of rabies at times. So we've had quite a number of meetings to work together, and it is even cheaper when we go out there to educate the public. So from our veterinary medical point of view, we still do not know the number of dogs we have in Ghana. So sometimes planning for vaccination is also a big problem. Few times we get the vaccine, then we go to the communities to do such vaccinations for free. I think free vaccination may be the right way to go about this, but we have quite a number of people in Ghana who cannot afford. We go to the northern part of Ghana, we go to other places, even in Accra. You have people who cannot afford 3 square meals a day. So how much more would you maybe ask such a person to pay for vaccination of dog? One vaccine may cost just 10 cedis. I'm saying just 10 cedis because I want to compare it to the human vaccine, which may cost you around 400 or 500 cedis in case you are bitten. We know that this is supposed to be free, but of course, money is not there to provide these vaccines at our hospitals so that people who are bitten receive bites from suspected dogs that we think may be carrying the virus to get this vaccine for free. We also have people living in far to reach areas who may not have access to such hospitals. So I think prevention is better than cure, as we always say. So vaccination is the way to go. And for dog vaccination, we can also go with the medical people, sometimes the environmental health or disease surveillance people who are also stationed or who are working with the Ghana Health Service who join us. As we do our vaccination, they also talk to the people on how to stay safe. We can do the same. But for me, the group work is cheaper, it's better, and it works better. So my focus is on using the One Health approach in rabies elimination.
Our conversation, I'll give you a minute each. Let me start off with Benjamin Kisi, your message to the public.
Okay, so thank you very much. This year, World Rabies theme is One Health, Zero Death. And this is what it has coincided with what the lecturer said. One Health needs to come together. Environmental people, the report system, how we could join hands, and we call for the media to grant space for it to sensitize the public about rabies. It's something that is around and people have been trying to pick their vaccination. Check whether they have not done it.
For you, Dr. Latte?
Yes, thank you very much. As a service, the health of the population is our concern. And one of the things that we want to advise is that people should be very cautious about stray dogs. And then those who are owning dogs should ensure also that they get these dogs vaccinated. But most importantly, if any person in the community gets a dog bite, a scratch for adequate care. Thank you very much.
Dr. Chami, let me wrap up with you.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, interesting enough, Posunchi that has reported human rabies case or cases this, I think, just this month, is the district that the vaccination took place not long ago. It then means that vaccination cannot take place just once and we go back to sleep. It must be continuous. We must repeat it every year. If not, rabies will not be eliminated from Ghana. Thank you.
Anyway, gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time here on The Pulse. In fact, I will still keep our eyes on that and bring you some updates as and when we have it. But you want to be cautious out there, particularly for those of you in the Ashanti region. Back to our top story, looking at the issues of illegal mining. In 2018, of course, that report was issued by the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining, indicating a raft of measures that were supposed to be rolled out to check and effectively tackle illegal mining. We'll be rolling on the screen some of the key recommendations that was made at the time by the committee. But I'm joined in studio now by Charles Bisi, who is a former secretary of that Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining that was launched by President Akufo-Addo and subsequently dissolved. Charles, it's a good time to be talking to you here in our studio. We cannot pretend about it. Aisha Huan has resurfaced in the news. So even before we get into the recommendations and what it is that you were putting out at the time, there's a need for us to talk about this individual, Aisha Huan. Okay. At the time when you were serving on the committee, did you pick up any details on the operations of this foreign Chinese national?
Okay, thank you, and good afternoon to your listeners. I think, yes, we did. A lot of intelligence work were carried out where we heard that she was actually operated around the Bipotentin area. And during that time, the team confiscated some excavators from her. And the thing is that once you confiscate those excavators, within a week, new ones resurface and all that. And then that led to her, being, expatriated from the country. So yes, there was a lot of intelligence around that. And as you can see, most of the excavators were collected, not just from her. But
did you get a sense at the time of how destructive her activities were in these mining communities that you were operating, putting surveillance on?
No, you need, with illegal mining, you need to define it. What is illegal mining? First of all, the person operating on a mine without license can be illegal mining. The person also going beyond the buffer zone can be illegal mining. So there are forms. So you need to situate it in a context. And I do not want to narrow it on her alone. If you not focus on her, then there might be other people who are actually causing destruction elsewhere. But we're talking about her because she has a resurface. But in our time, I realized that, the Chinese, they look alike. And during our time, you arrest them and then they resurface.
Oh, they do that?
Yes. So at a point, at the Interministerial Committee office, we had our own fingerprint machine so that when they are not recycled for us. So a lot had to go into that.
So Aisha is not the only one who's involved in this alleged act of changing their profiles just to re-enter the country?
No, I'm not sure of that, changing their profile. But then there was a situation where we've arrested certain Chinese, and then they come back, and then at the point I was looking at them and I'm like, I said,
I've seen this guy.
There was a joke that I said, oh, that's my Chinese man. And then, but you're not sure.
Right.
So we went to the extent of having a fingerprint machine at the office. So when the security people bring them in, they're brought in, we actually check that and then keep record before we even hand them over to the immigration and the police, so that we had a data of each and everyone that we have. And then saying that, if you look at the figures, I think between 2000, from the Migration Service, between 2009 up until now, about 1,604
have been moved.
It's been arrested, deported, and within 2019, 2017 and 2019 alone, 572 were deported.
Okay, you did 572.
Yes.
Former President John Dramani Mahama talks about over 500.
I'm not sure.
During his time, though.
No, but the figures that I am quoting,
okay, right,
they're saying that from 2009 up until now, 1,600. And then so within 2017 and 2019, 35%. So how many years was President Mahama in office?
So what recommendations did you give at the time in terms of dealing with the likes of Aisha Huan and these foreign nationals, the Chinese, particularly who you say normally look alike? So it appears that issue of someone doing re-entry may appear. What recommendations did you give at the time at the Secretariat?
You need to look at it, how the Interministerial Committee came about.
Right.
It was an amalgamation, or let's put together a committee, an ad hoc committee of 10 ministries, cabinet ministers. Interior, Defense, Information, Chieftain. So at every point in time, each ministry has something to do. Okay, so it traveled to the point where the Chieftaincy Minister kept going around Kofi Jamesi across the whole country. It got to, with the local government minister and all that. Operation Vanguard was being run by the Interior Ministry and Defense Ministry. So every ministry had something to do. Now, so deportation of foreigners falls under the ambit of the Interior Ministry. That's why I've quoted those figures. So the Interministerial Committee was such that at every point in time when the problem comes before us, we look at which ministry is responsible for that, and then we actually work with them to make sure that we've actually solved the problem. That's how come there was a spike in the deportation. And it's not just a spike. Okay. When the ban came in, I had a meeting with the immigration, the controller,
yeah.
and the team, and there was also a report that even voluntarily, most of the foreigners, especially Chinese, left the country.
When you were cracking down on them?
Yes.
In the early 2018, 2019?
Yes, and thanks to the journalists, we had the coalition of media against Galamsey, and all the Ken Ashigbe, the president of GJA. They were all part of it, you see. And so at that time, the noise that we made and the seriousness with which the president attached to it made it so not lucrative for them. So they actually voluntarily left.
And I'm grateful that you're using that word seriousness, because in 2021, fast forward, the president made that decision to dissolve the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. The belief was we lost a fine opportunity at tackling the dissolution of the committee.
Was it announced?
That's why I want to get your thoughts on it, because we've heard, for instance, from the deputy minister in charge of lands and natural resources, George Merikuduka, for instance, talk about the fact that all of you who were serving on that committee had failed the president, a reason for which we're seeing what we're seeing now. Sources are saying the committee was dissolved. Charles Biyusu, what do you know about the status of the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining?
Okay, I wouldn't want to personalize
the issues. Right.
And two, everything that is being done is teamwork.
Right.
Within the wisdom of the president, he formed the Inter-Ministerial Committee. Right. The mandate was such that we're to restructure the artisanal and small-scale mining sector. Now, so if I haven't heard him say that, if you're quoting him, then he's being deceived.
You mean you haven't heard the president say that the committee was dissolved?
No, the president saying that everybody on the committee failed. And
no, I'm quoting one of the sector ministers, deputy ministers, indicating that you had failed the president.
No,
so possibly that could be the reason for which we have the committee dissolved.
But the president wouldn't say that, because whoever comes out to say that he's being disingenuous and it's an insult to the president and the 10 cabinet ministers, then it means that the president should have sacked all the ministers. You understand? The mandate of the Interministerial Committee was to restructure the artisanal and small-scale mining, and it went through cabinet. And then cabinet approved of it. Professor Frimpong Boateng was made the chairman of the committee. Now, the mandate was such that, as I said, each ministry had something to do at a point. And I've enumerated how people, foreigners, voluntarily left the country. Following that, 572 were deported. So there was some success there because the small-scale mining sector, per the law, PNDC law 2118, is the preserve of Ghanaians. So trying to drive these foreigners out is actually one area that you're tackling. Now, the restructuring and all that we're doing was to the point where the president said, let's put a ban on it for 2 years. People suffered through that and all that. And then let's put measures, which is the restructuring bit. Now, the restructuring bit. Now, if you're going through it, you would realize that there were vetting of licenses. About 4,000 people were trained at UMAT. And so if you say that they failed because we had professors from UMAT here and they're coming together, the 2 years, a lot of work was done and it traveled into the roadmap. The roadmap, okay, that came out had the community mining, alternative livelihood, the Galam Stop, which was to amalgamate all the related agencies within the mining sector, be it Water Resources Commission, so that if you have to change the course of a water body, you need a permit to do that. The forestry, they protect the forestry, but sometimes if you have to cut down the tree, you need a salvage permit. So every ministry related or agency related to mining was actually put together in that software, so that when the application processes start, where it has to be stay at the Minerals Commission, I think 6 months, and the ministers for 3 months. Sometimes it took about 5 years. That is why we had illegal mining prevailing. So once the application process is so transparent and all that, then people can...
So it's not the case that you failed?
No, so I mean, it's not for me to judge. I'm going to enumerate it because after the Interministerial Committee has done its work, it's an ad hoc committee. And I believe that the president can even decide that he calls it back. You understand?
And that's why I'm interested, first of all, in the status and your performance. Was it ever dissolved? I mean, what's the status of the Interministerial Committee?
I heard it's announced a cabinet. So if there was going to be a dissolution, it has to come from cabinet.
On the way forward.
And the operative word is ad hoc. Ad hoc means that it is there temporarily to deal with things. You understand? So and I'm saying that the president can come back and say, tomorrow, I want the Interministerial Committee to carry out ABC. For example, the Interministerial Committee came about because there was crisis, the enormity of the problem, and so previous governments were not able to deal with it. So the president came in and said, let's put everything together and deal with it. And within that, we came up with drones, you understand? 144 drone pilots were trained. They went through civil aviation, they had certification. They went to, I think, is it Bondasi or the military camp for 2 weeks. We trained divers and all that. And you can see, I think at a point, Ghana Water Company came out to say that the water bodies, Akobra and all that, are getting better. And we came out, we brought in the European Space Agency using satellite imagery. And there was a flight hub at the Interministerial. I think we called all the journalists. And periodically, we came up updating you as to what is happening.
So the results are out. The belief of some persons is that we've not had the results, and looking at what's happening now, would you say this is the time for the president to recall that or reconvene that committee?
No, you are saying that.
Right. Because at least we're still dealing with illegal mining. That's why you were set up.
Is there an empirical evidence to say that the destruction of our water bodies and our forest reserves, how many years did it take us to get here? When there's that empirical evidence, then you can say that, yes, it took 20 years to destroy them. And so it would take us 5 years to do it. But you wouldn't be able to put it together. So that's why I said that one area was driving the foreigners away. But now I think they've resurfaced. People are saying that the community mine that we're doing, most are going back to foreigners. That is the reason why when we started, we were told that the government officials here and MPP and DC. So we brought in the Galam Stop, which actually brought in something like directors' duties, lifting the veil of incorporation, where directors of certain companies can be assessed by anybody, so that we know if a small-scale mining company is actually disrupting a river body, we know who is doing it, because to the point that the Gallum stop was going to give access to the general public, where you look into an app and then within your jurisdiction, you know who owns what concession there. So when a river body is being destroyed, you can actually go to the person. And when there are 10 or 15 people within a certain catchment area, there will be peer review, because I am looking at what you're doing, because there will be sanction. So all these things were put in. So my job is to enumerate, and I do not want us to denigrate the 10 cabinet ministers, because a good job was done that. I went to South Africa with the president, and it got to a point I think in 2019, where the deputy minister for mines there said they actually even copying what we're doing, which is the community mine. And that is what the lands ministry is implementing now. You remember the Kenya Simodo recently? I heard of them going to Kenya to do something community mine. It's in the roadmap. Everything that they're doing, exportation, everything was captured in the roadmap. So I am looking at the point where we have to be consistent in what we're doing. Governance must be continuous. We are in a culture where we say NDC does something and then MPP comes in and we do not continue with it. But within the same government, I don't think we should be saying that one has failed and then the other one is doing well.
You feel that's not healthy, but upon reflection, having served as secretary to that interministerial committee, what's your impression of what you've done? Because somewhere along the line, you decided to step down, and the issues of corruption allegations were raised. Yeah. So upon reflection, looking back...
The 20K, right?
Yes. what do you personally feel about your service, your tour of duty?
You see, for me, being the secretary of the Interministerial Committee, I mean, I kept saying, I've said it severally, that if I should have the opportunity to do the job again, I'll do the same things that I did.
Really?
I haven't regretted anything, no. Because that's 20,000 I was put in. I mean, you're in this country. You've seen that it wasn't true. It was because you were doing the right thing, and certain people didn't want you to be there. And with time, I mean, I kept saying that vindication lies within the womb of time. And we are all here to see that. But then, for me, I wouldn't go and sit on the fence and say, oh, no, they're failing. Right. No, it's not like...
You feel that may have been orchestrated from within the industry itself?
Oh, yes.
How tough is it trying to find persons who are engaged in illegal mining?
To find persons that...
Yeah, and to fight them, yes, largely.
Oh, it's very tough. It's like fighting the drug cartel. And it doesn't have political coloration. It's the money that brings people together.
Right.
That's the prime. So for me, I said I do not regret what I did, because I would do it 1,000 times, because within me, the principles the president inculcated in me, that was what I was doing. And then to the best of my knowledge, I think I did the right thing. And I wasn't actually carrying out decisions on my own. There were 10 cabinet ministers. We made decisions come about, and I was actually doing the day-to-day implementation. So I haven't seen failure. It is maybe a spanner thrown in the wheels.
Right.
Okay, so it is for us to go and then continue with the roadmap and then follow it to the letter. Where is the Gallum stop? The Gallum stop, money was spent for it.
In fact, we have some details on that. We'll be rolling that on the screens right now. But in fact, your political opponents, the National Democratic Congress, they've started hitting at you as the NPP and the promises that you made. They even go ahead to say, for instance, that Aisha Juan is a financier of the New Patriotic Party. Just before you walked in, the Deputy General Secretary of the NDC had granted an interview indicating that this is someone who funds your political party, and it's part of the reasons why you're not able to crack the whip.
So within the time that NDC were in power, I heard that Aisha Juan was arrested 3 times and she was left off the hook. And then at the time of the MPP, she was arrested. The team that I led, arrested about 3 or 4 excavators around Bipotinton, the Amancia area, thereabout, and all that, and we confiscated that.
Belonging to it?
Yes.
Right.
I mean, I hadn't seen it personally, but the intelligence we got was that, yes.
That was the official report.
And then later on, when, the time that we actually was told that she'd been deported, I remember word came round, and Tiwa, then the CID boss, we reported it to her that she's come back through Togo. And Tiwa was swift in dealing with the matter. Okay? She's come back to Togo, and then I think she was about to be caught and she ran out again.
Really?
Yes, Tiwa did a good job.
That's shocking.
Yes, because the intelligence we got. So I mean, you can speak to the former CID boss, because immediately we got the intelligence, we reported it to her, and she did something swift, and the lady bolted. Now, she even left certain things, personal belongings there, which...
we need to talk about that story. We'll do that shortly. But deal with the issue of the NDC, the fact that they're claiming...
Yes, I'm giving you...
Yes, precisely.
So that's why I mentioned to you.
Yes,
so something was done.
Okay.
So when she came back, if, allegedly, okay, if she was a financier of the MPP, then, you know, first of all, she wouldn't have left the country. Okay. Number two, she would, but within the NDC, she was left off the hook 3 times. So they must come up with evidence to say that they've given money to such a person and such a, and I mean, we shouldn't waste our time talking about it because there's no evidence. That's why I'm saying that. She was left off the hook 3 times.
Yeah, but they say, even if you don't have the evidence, the approach of government towards how Aisha is being treated clearly points to the fact that you don't have the balls as government to deal, and as the New Patriotic Party to deal with it.
She was left off the hook under the NDC on 3 occasions. And then within this setting, she comes back. And then the NIA card, that's the NDC, couldn't even produce. We came back, we've produced over 15 million. And then she went there, went through the process, and she was caught. So it means that the system we have now is somehow strict.
Yeah, but Charles, the issue is about prosecution. Don't you feel that's what Ghanaians need? That you go ahead and prosecute Aisha Wan.
I like that.
And that's why the NDC says you don't have to.
I like that. So the things that you're saying, I think, to me, is moot, because the Attorney General has come back to say that she's going to be prosecuted, even for previous crimes, because there's no expiration for certain crimes. The first time you were asked to go back to your country for whatever reason, you went out. And then you came back, defying the rules. So the wheels of justice, they say, grind slowly, but eventually it gets there. So the Attorney General has spoken. So whatever the NDC is saying now is moot.
So she's not a bankroller for the NPP?
No, I have no evidence of that. If we are going by what the NDC is saying, then she might be a bankroller.
There are claims that some of but there are claims that some of your political party members and bigwigs engage in small-scale mining, knowing how powerful she is. So the claim may be that she's working in tandem with some of these people, and through that, you may have funding for your political party.
Listen, somebody can sit out there and say you indulge in small-scale mining or illegal mining. Anybody can make an allegation. But in my preamble, I said that that area is like a drug cartel. It doesn't have political colors. It is the money that brings people together. So it can be a pastor, whoever, a chief being involved. The only problem is to being transparent, which we brought the Galam stop, and even to the point, you remember when after the vetting, the Interministerial Committee was publishing those with license and those whose license were pending and all that. Why did we stop doing that? Because once you publish in the dailies and everything, then within we are here, this district, I know that there are 5 mining companies here. If anybody goes outside of it, with the trackers, I remember recently the Elembele case. Why should we get to that point? We put the government spent money, we bought trackers for excavators, and we had a flight hub where at the point when somebody goes beyond a geofence area, we call them, we had a call center calling, hey, you've gone beyond that, what is happening? People were taking them off. The moment it goes off, it was shown on the screen. I tell you, we brought the European Space Agency at no cost to government. Later on, when I left, I stepped aside. I had a civil servant, a consultant, was putting money together to go and charge the government for bringing the European Space Agency to Ghana. I sent a text message to the National Security Minister and the Minister assured me that this has been done. And so you see, if they say Charles Bisi went for 20,000, I could have made money because somebody came all the way from Switzerland, trained Forestry Ministry, Minerals Commission, all the agencies that are related as to using satellite imagery, and that was linked to the flight hub there. So you just sit there, and that is why some of the river bodies were getting better. So I do not, I wouldn't want to be responding to individuals, but the statement that the Interministerial Committee feel is not an attack on Charles Bisi, but it's an attack on cabinet, the government, and itself, because it is within the same government that we're doing.
And that Aisha never has funded the NPP.
I've never seen that, no, I can't.
How about, and there are more stories and persons sharing all sorts of accounts on her, the claim that she's having sex videos of some of the bigwigs within the NPP, and in fact some of you at the time who were serving and fighting illegal mining, a reason for which you're not able to arrest her. What do you know about such stories?
I do not know anything about it, but let's apply the laws. In the first place, we have to crack the whip. Whatever sex video that he has with people, were they with underage children? No. It might be consensual. They had sex, you understand?
Yeah, so once it wasn't rape.
So she in the first place, videoing that, it's a crime. And two, she cannot show it, you understand? Right. So, I mean, gagging people and then blackmailing people, this thing doesn't work. We must crack the whip. For me, I use myself.
So you feel, yeah, okay, yes, and that's instructive, yes.
You know, when I was doing my job and somebody sent somebody to give me money and then somebody took a video, and the day before, I was told to go and pay money. I said, no, go ahead and show the video. You understand? Because I was not, yes.
You were asked to pay
money
bribes.
For that video to be dropped. You understand? But I said, no, go ahead and show it. Today, I am sitting here. You understand? Because if I paid
Charles, you don't mean what you're telling me.
If I paid money to anybody, my conviction, you understand? Today, I am sitting here.
Who was asking you for this money?
That's another conversation, you see?
Right.
Because...
And by the way, why were you being asked for some monies then?
Because people, I don't know, I mean, that's the person's motive.
Right.
But then I was told that there's a video coming up about you taking money here and there, and so you need to pay us some money. So for us to get that video dropped, and I said, go ahead and show it.
How much?
I used the F word.
How much was involved?
No, they wanted to negotiate with me, and I said, go ahead and show it, because I know nothing about it. And today I am happy within me, you understand? Because if I'd done anything, I would have actually sat somewhere and then hide away from it. And then, so I'm saying that if I'm using this as an example, so if Aisha One is blackmailing other people, we must bite the bullet and deal with it, because then whoever, it's going to be something that carries on in this country, that when some people have done wrong, they use it. If whatever sex that happened, the person was not raped, it wasn't child sex, it wasn't pornography or something. So it was a consensual sex.
So you feel that irrespective of the public servant who may have these, may have been involved and may have been captured on this footage, that should not deter anyone from going ahead with the prosecution.
So was it a case of the person saying, they come in to have sex, and the person saying, let me have sex with you, and then once I give it to you, then you allow me to do illegal mining? I don't see the correlation there. Let's scrap the whip, deal with her. You understand? If she can't go and show it on any video because it is even against the law. So once she does that, there can be more sanctions on her. So I don't think we should.
I'm interested in the 2018 story, the story about her first re-entry. So, which means that, yes, indeed, you pursued her. She moved out of the country. And then she was trying to
we got intelligence
through neighboring Republic of Togo. Tell us about that story.
No, we got intelligence that she's come back within a week or something like that. And I reported it to Tiwa. And then Tiwa, I think, sent her men. And then by the time they got there, she bolted. That's what happened.
So that was the first time. And this, at this time, you were in office. So that should have been around I think August?
I can't remember. I mean, I didn't know you were going to, but I know that something like that happened. And then we sent people there, and then she left some personal belongings. Tiwa was aware of that. So.
You mean the current Yoko boss?
Yes. She was then the CID.
What did she leave behind at the time? And what more details did you pick up on her as to what her operations may have been around the neighboring Republic of Togo?
No, I do not know. I mean, we got intelligence that she's back in the Ashanti region, in the country. And so we reported it to them because you need to be working with the agencies. And that's what I'm saying, that was the very essence of the interministerial committee. Because you see now, the Galamsey thing, I do not know if all the agencies are working together. The problem then was that you go to Minerals Commission for, you go to forestry. You're given an entry permit to go into the forest reserve. It is your decision. I mean, it's a decision, but it's up to you. Then you're told to go to Minerals Commission to go for a permit, a license to mine. That person can decide not to go. You see, that is the very reason why we brought the Galam stop together. So at a glance, you can see who is delaying the process. The government paid money, almost 10 million Ghana cedis for that. Where is it? Drone pilots were trained. There was a flight hub, computers and all that. That when we did the testing, and 144 of them went to civil aviation. At the point that we trained them, I remember that when after training them, that some of them couldn't pass because they had liver problems, eye problems, young people. Then I actually was able to establish a correlation between the mining areas and certain diseases. So I spoke to Professor Frimpong, and I said, maybe we should get the Ghana Health Service involved with these into doing another research for these areas and all that. So a lot of things with that. I spoke about the tracker. That the Elembele case could have been solved easily because it's just a matter of sitting there with the European Space Agency and all that. When we're doing the vetting, the small-scale miners can talk about that themselves. You come in, there's a screen. Right. Your concession is showed out there. The dates that you went on it, even the 2 years, some people were mining. Right. So I remember when one person came in, the first or third person, when we started the vetting, and the vetting was done, the professors from UMAT, Professor Mankwa, Amegbe, Kuma, all came together. And the person was shown their what? The concession. And said on the 20th of March, he went there. 13th of April, he went there. But he had lied. And then he said, we are not here to, crucify you, speak the truth, so that we actually help you. And then they came out. When he came out of the room, he went and told all these people that, no, go and speak the truth. What you're doing is for us. And within that time, we're trying to empower the Ghanaian miner, not the foreigner.
And we'll talk about the foreigners and what you had done together with the Chinese embassy, but let me roll on the screens now some of the key recommendations that you had made at the time. And I'm picking this excerpts from the roadmap after you lifted the ban on small-scale mining. So this is the pre to post-ban activities. So for instance, we have the monitoring, compliance, and sanctions on illegal mining activities. We also do have monitoring, compliance, and enforcement of artisanal and small-scale mining regulations. And then there is the Galam Stop, the drones and the tracking systems, which you were supposed to use to monitor all of these activities. You were supposed to coordinate this at the center, but then you were decentralizing it using the DCIMs, right? Tell us about that. Right.
Okay, so you see all these things, following the restructuring, sanitization, which was a 2-year ban, and the restructuring, these were the things that were put there. Now, so if you look at it, the drones and all that was to monitor. That is why 144 were trained, about 80 divers were trained, and all that. So everybody is synchronized, everybody works together. Within that, we went around the country and formed district mining committees. Recently, I've seen that we're doing it again. And all these things that you see, the government spends money for that. Are we talking about causing financial loss to the states? Then maybe I should be arrested. And the 10 ministers should be arrested. Because the monies that were spent on it, was it not fit for purpose? We should have explained that. Where are the drones and all these things? Because we did a test, and after the test, you realize that people will be out there and they're mining, and then there will be a call center. Somebody will call them and say, hey, you've gone beyond your zone and all this. So I do not know where all these things are. Now, the district mining committees were supposed to be in charge, which I've said with myself, Dan Botry, then the Minister for Reorganization, Kofi Jamesi, Professor from Pombwati, local minister government, then Hajia. We went around the country and inaugurated district mining committees.
So that's the DCIMs that we're looking at, right?
And I've seen that it's being done again. So, and all these things are in the roadmap. Exportation of gold, the Kenyasi model. I remember I went to Kenyasi, met them, Newmont, and then we spoke to them. So in the roadmap, there's something called the Kenyasi model. I've seen the community mining as being said it's a new thing. It's not. And you go to Krofrom, we spoke to AGI. Remember Asante said the AGI wasn't even worth 1 billion, one pound or something like that. And then we went there, we spoke to AGI, they gave us some of it for the Galamseers. We actually spoke to, I think, the World Bank or UN, something like that. An international body. They came, and so there was a model that we can train people, and it's all there. And I've seen it being replicated in Kenya now. So it's all good for the government. But my point is that if we started from it shouldn't be fragmented. It shouldn't be done as if somebody failed and somebody, then we can never deal with the problem. That is my point.
But there's the question as to whether or not we can effectively tackle illegal mining. Will Galamsey ever end in this country?
Okay, it's not just Galamsey, it's most sectors of our government. It is our attitude, you and I. For example, the media started with us, and at a point, it stopped, you understand? Because I remember at the Interministerial Committee, there was regular briefing. You went out there, you came, and then you asked questions. And then sometimes the Ghana Small Scale Miners Association had a series of meetings, and they brought ideas, and they found them in the book, the roadmap. They were part of the roadmap that we drew and all that. So if you say that the roadmap wasn't good, no, because the small scale miners that are benefiting from it were part of it, you see. So all that was done. Now, our problem is our attitude, you and I. Because today, Ghana, we do something today, and then after a few months, you leave it. So the momentum, the consistency to dealing with it. And I'm saying that compliance, okay, you just should.
Oh, yeah, well, I mean, we could bring it back just to help you to lay the points.
No,
yes.
it's all,
okay,
it's all in my head.
Right, okay.
No, it's all, give me a pen and paper. I'll
yeah,
write
we'll just write all of that.
Everything,
so
everything there,
the,
it's
okay.
in my head.
Right,
You can shut it out.
Right, okay.
So basically, what I'm saying is that we established that the problem is that we do things and then we leave it hanging.
Right.
So there had to be constant monitoring. How are we going to do the constant monitoring? The drones would come in, the flight up. And even those things, putting them there, it is not always that you have to send people there to do it. Because people can be corrupted. You understand? Yeah. But the fact that people know that there's a certain technology sitting somewhere, you wouldn't even know. Maybe that day I'll switch off.
But practically, the concern is it's a business. So we're not able to deal with it. And because you were talking about, for instance, when the money comes, everybody forgets about it. So it's as though the cycle will continue. Every government will come. I mean, governments will continue to face it, and they can't effectively deal with illegal mining.
The fact that the statement that you came with says that the Interministerial Committee failed doesn't mean that I should come and say that somebody has failed. You see, in my statement, I'm asking of questions where the things are.
But the concern is we can't deal with it because it's a business, and that's why. So it will continue.
So those causing the problem, are they from Jupiter, Mars? They're on this Earth. They're on Earth, right? Yeah. They're here with us. Right. And at a point, we dealt with it to some point, okay? And then the water bodies. So I'm talking about consistency. Right. I'm talking about monitoring. I'm talking about being transparent. Because if we publish the number of mining companies every 3 months to 6 months, the status of them, that 10 of them are in this district, 5 of them are here. You and I would know who is legal there. Right. There will be peer review and all that. So the fact that the people will see that we're being transparent enough is even a starter. Right. And then also the compliance. Now, people are actually saying things that, the community mining that we're doing, we're giving them to Chinese. Right. I do not know if it's true or not. You understand? But then, if we were publishing them every now and then, and then within a district, we see some Chinese coming in, we will know that it is the small-scale mine or community mine place. And then once you've done that, we know that those foreigners who are come there are not part.
I'm glad that you're raising the issue of the community mining, because it appears that's one of the phases where the Lands and Natural Resources Ministry has been going all out on, commissioning some various groups to go into that community mining. However, the concern by some stakeholders, including some small-scale miners, indigenous miners, is that you have the foreign nationals going in for proxies. So these people, of course, join the groups, and remotely you have the foreign nationals engaging virtually in the small-scale sector. So they are sort of like pushing them or phasing them out indirectly.
Yeah.
What's your take on the approach we're using for the small-scale, the community mining approach?
See, when we arrested a lot of excavators, and people kept saying that 500 excavators was coming, which was never true. We never had 500.
Oh, you never had 500 excavators?
But the Lands Minister Chemi came out and said it was 270 or 290 thereabout. Okay.
So it appears there was a lot of misreportage, if you want to call it as such, about what was happening at the time.
No, because it was corrected then. You understand? Because
so it wasn't 500, for instance.
No. So do you want me to explain why maybe they said 500? Okay. You know, you go to a mining site, and then you find 10 excavators. Galamstop goes there, the Vanguard, and then you find 10 excavators. And that's exactly what happened to in Elembele. So you go there, you find 10 excavators. So at that time, Vanguard will report 10, but they did not have low beds to cut them to wherever we're taking them. So they leave them and then take the brain of the excavator, which is the monitor or the control unit. They take 10 and then they record them, thinking they've taken the brain. So by the time you go back, you find a low bed and you go back in 3 or 4 days. The small-scale miners
will fix them,
or the illegal miners gone with another brain and move them. So the actuals will be 2, and then the 8 is gone. But the reconciliation wasn't done well. You understand? So on paper, the Vanguard gave us about 600 and something, but it wasn't actuals. But then you realize that when you counted them, we had the brain of about 600 of them, but it wasn't excavators. That was what the problem was. You understand? So you realize that the minister came in and said 297. So I never received.
Okay, so duplication may have gone into that.
Because you record what they saw in the field was reported, and then when they reported it, they left, and then another team had to go. By the time you go there, the people have taken. That is why we brought in trackers. So the moment you get it, you put in the trackers and you're linked to the flight hub at the center here.
It's a complex matter,
It's
but of course, looking forward, there's the issue about the Chinese embassy and what we could be doing in terms of collaboration. But looking back at what processes should have started in the past, what engagements had happened with the Chinese counterparts in trying to check some of the people who come through to do illicit mining? Because yes, I mean, and what could we be doing? What did you do in the past, and what could we be doing now? Because I recall just days ago speaking to one of the former ambassadors to China, who indicated that there's a certain province in China where you have a lot of influx. I mean, of these foreign nationals coming through. Okay, well, maybe you may have known of the province coming through and engaging in illegal mining.
Yes, during the time, I mean, I can only speak to that time.
Yeah, that time.
I don't know, I mean, I'm not in that position to do that. At that time, we engaged with the Chinese embassy a lot. I remember I went to China, we had discussions, and I asked questions that if you really, because, you know, colonialization,
right.
The Western world came to Ghana or Africa through the multinationals, Coca-Cola, Cadbury's and all that. And what the Chinese are also using under the way of penetration, giving money to one person, becoming a billionaire, and then he invested. But the money, it's a communist state. The money really belongs to the world. But if you go contrary to that, you'll be punished. So I asked the question that, so why don't you go the American way? You want to go and come into mine. So come as a multinational, negotiate with the government and mine, and so that there's 30% or 50% foreigners. And so you have a quantum for it. He never answered me. You understand? So
that's what you were trying to negotiate.
During the discussion. That's what I said. I said, no, come as a multinational, because you are not allowed to do small scale mining. So come as a multinational, let's negotiate. Then we negotiate and say, okay, 50% Chinese or whatever.
So you had indeed established back then that the influence of China was biting hard on us here.
Oh, but I mean, you report it all the time. And if in the reports come to you before we get to know, you understand. So it's not just Chinese. I mean, there are other foreigners involved. But the Chinese are actually the ones who are involved in illegal the mining. And then the others who buy, other nationals who buy them and all that. So there are there's a long cartel that deals with it. And they all specialize in certain areas, you understand? So for me, I am saying that, yes, the foreign bits should be taken out. And most of there's evidence that 572 went out within 2 years. And some went out voluntarily to the airport because it was not lucrative for them. Can we revisit that era? Yes, I think it's possible, because to the point there where, you know, when we were actually arresting Chinese and then we are leaving them in the police service and here and there, I'm not mentioning names, and then the people were being recycled. So I bought my own fingerprints and then I made sure that I had data for them. So the moment they come back and I tell them,
you're able to check if indeed they are the ones doing that. We need to go, but Charles, what will be your message to Ghanaians briefly? Since you obviously are a leading member of the NPP, and the concern out there is that your government is failing on the fight against illegal mining.
No, I don't like the last phrase, like my government is failing. We haven't failed. I mean, the bold step to even go into it, we must commit the government. 2, hitherto, Aisha 1 was arrested 3 times and left off the hook. This government has brought it to bear. She's going to be prosecuted. I think that, yes, whatever we do, it gets to points that we review it. I believe the government coming in to talk, things will be reviewed. What the interministerial committee started, the roadmap chiefs were called here, DCs, the district mining committees came together, we all adopted it. Let's stick to it and then make sure that we hold people responsible. I think we need to be transparent in what we do. People shouldn't be scared with using my story, because I am alive now. Whatever happened to me, people insulted me. But I said,
you feel vindicated?
I don't want to feel vindicated, because it's a teamwork. Maybe one person had to fall along the line for us to succeed. That is me. I believe in the teamwork that we must all come together. Because if I sit here and say that I have been vindicated, the water bodies in certain areas are not there. Might be people come from the Hunter, Zima, and the Volta area. It can affect them. So I don't want to be vindicated. I want us to actually achieve something out of it.
And of course, that's the man, Charles Bisu, former Secretary for the Inter-Ministerial Committee on Illegal Mining. And that's obviously where we draw the curtains here on the polls on the JoyNews channel. I am Blessed Sogah. Log on to myjoyonline.com. We have updates on all of our stories for you. We'll see you again next time.